Play right side.
3, 2, 1, 0, 0, and liftoff.
Welcome to Seattle Sports Insider Podcast, your best source for the latest news and conversation on what's happening with the big teams of the Pacific Northwest. We'll cover it all. Seahawks, Mariners, Supersonics. Supersonics? I think I grabbed the old script. Anyway, if it's big and it's sports and it's Seattle and surrounding, we're on it. Follow us on Twitter @MarinersTalk24 and on Facebook, Seattle Sports Insider Podcast. And now, time for the second best father-son duo in Seattle sports history. After, of course...
Goodbye, baseball! They do it! The Grippies with back-to-back home runs!
Here's your host of the Seattle Sports Insider Podcast, Justin Bonanno.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Bonanno Sports Banter, the second best father-son duo in Seattle sports, coming at you with our Super Bowl episode. I'm Justin. That's my dad, Eric. And today we're bringing in a guy who knows winning, defense, and building elite football programs. Joining us is Rod Sandberg, head football coach of Whitworth University. Coach Sandberg is a two-time Northwest Conference Coach of the Year, has led the Pirates to 4 NCAA playoff appearances, back-to-back 10-win seasons, and owns one of the top winning percentages in all of D3 football. Before Whitworth, he spent nearly 2 decades at Wheaton College developing All-Americans and even NFL talent. And today we're talking everything from building championship culture to elite defense and how all that connects to what we'll see on Super Bowl Sunday. Coach, we really appreciate you joining us. Welcome to the show.
Justin, really appreciate it. It's an honor to be here.
It's we're excited. A lot of fun things going in Seattle sports right now. Excited to get your view on a few things. So I want to start off. I'm reading Bill Walsh's leadership book right now.
Okay.
And it's got me thinking about standards and cultures. You've turned Whitworth into a consistent playoff team. What is some non-negotiable standards your program is built on?
No, I appreciate that. I think you can't just have culture be on a T-shirt. It has to be who you are, and you got to be fighting for it every single day. And I think a big part of it is hiring the coaches that buy into the standard and recruiting players that want to be held up to that standard. We have a really, really simple standard here. The acronym TOUGH, but 5 things. But you gotta live it. You gotta fight for it every single day. And the first one is tough. You gotta be tough. You gotta be tough-minded, physically tough. Football's a tough game. Life is tough. You're gonna get kicked. You're gonna get knocked down. We gotta be tough. Number 2, we gotta be obsessed with being our best. Right? It's just so easy to fall into being average or doing just enough. We want to be obsessed with being our best. And the third thing is be uncommon, right? Uncommon in our discipline, uncommon in our enthusiasm. We're looking for uncommon young men. I talk about it when I'm making offers. The next one is we want to be gritty, right? Adversity will hit in a game, in the off season, with injuries. How do we respond to that? You have to be mentally prepared and gritty to do that. And then the last one's heart. We're at a faith-based school. We really talk a lot about character here. So what kind of heart do you have? Do you have a heart of gratitude? Do you have a heart of thankfulness? Are we just takers, what we need and what we want, or are we giving? Are we giving to this school? We giving to this community? We giving back? I think that's the standard for every single one of our players. And when we see somebody that's not living up to that, and best, one of our players sees somebody not living up to that, they pull them aside and say, hey, man, you're better than that. We're better than that. That's not what we're about. And when you have players doing that, that's when it can really take off.
Something you just brought up there can relate to, it sounds like a lot of the same things that we hear coming from the Seattle Seahawks, especially their head coach, Mike Macdonald. A couple of things. I don't want to look too far into the future, but this is something that you've had the success at Whitworth and have probably experienced. When you have success, people are going to come start taking your coaches from your tree and whatnot, and then having to replace that. The Seahawks most likely are going to be losing their offensive coordinator. And then obviously there's a snowball effect with that, where you have to, maybe the offensive line coach goes, and then maybe he takes the defensive coordinator, since he's not calling the plays for the Seahawks under Macdonald right now. How do you see yourself rebuilding those coaches, finding quality people, and what advice do you have for a first-time head coach like Mike Macdonald for doing stuff like that? Again, not to get too much into next year, but something you just hit on there really spurred that question in my mind.
I think it's one of the most important questions. Our profession is very transient, trying to get the next best job and move up. And we want to be a program that fights for our coaches to get opportunities, right? I want to help them. I tell them, come, don't hide it from me. Come tell me, I'll call, right? People helped me get where I'm at, and I want to help them in any way I can. If there's something better for them, the next step, we want to be really aggressive in helping them. So now you have to have a culture. You have to have a process in place that you can withstand that. Right. I tell our players, Whitworth football is way bigger than just me. Right. We have a system, we have a process, we have a standard, and we just hold to that. If I'm gone, if the offensive coordinator's gone, whoever's gone, because it's going to happen. Right. Let's just look at WSU, new coaching staff. Right. Let's just look at Idaho, lost 3 coaches this year. Eastern Washington lost 4. Right. It's how it's going to be. You understand that. You didn't come here to play for the DB coach. Right. He's icing on the cake. You love him. But you came here for a Whitworth degree. You came here to be part of a championship program and a culture that's going to grow you as a man. So you have to just kind of go back to those. So my advice for Mike Macdonald, man, he's got a winning culture. He's going to lose people, but people are also going to want to come be part of that. And, you can hire a lot of different kinds of people. In my opinion, I like hiring young rising stars. Right? Let's get them, let's grow them, and then let's help them go to the next. Because young rising stars are hungry, right? They're motivated. They're willing to learn. They don't think they know it all. So those are just a couple thoughts, but I think you just have to understand that it's bigger than any one person.
Coach, when I played college hockey, right, the dynamic in the locker room would change every year. New people coming in, leaders moving out. So, do you adapt some of the leadership style, or is it always this is the standard, this is how we go about things? And then when those new players come in, is it really leaning on some of those veteran players to instill that culture and carry on the tradition? I'm just thinking back, freshman year and senior year were a lot different with the people in the locker room. So just, touch on that a little bit is with the college, with the turnover, as you only get some of these kids for 3-4 years.
Yeah. So I think it's a really insightful question. I think the standard never changes. How you run offense or defense might change based on your talent level. How much of a role I need to take as a leader might be dependent on how good our leaders on our team are. We want to be, there's this famous quote that everybody knows, right? Bad teams have no leaders, good teams have coach leaders, and great teams have player leaders. If I don't have you're not always going to have the same, right? So if it's not quite there, we coaches might have to step up a little bit more. So I think that's the skill of leadership and motivation, is understanding where the strengths and weaknesses are. So I think the leadership changes. I think the standard doesn't. I think the offense and defense can. What can and what can't, I think, is really important. But the process is what's got us here, and it's going to continue to keep us here.
And Coach, as the Seahawks go into the Super Bowl, especially with this 2-week break going in,
Yeah.
relate a little bit to yourself as you've gone into big games. Have you had the tendency to maybe think, oh, I'm going to try this, and then scale back and look back and say, oh, maybe that was too cute. I got too cute on something. How do you stay focused on that job in hand and not try to do too much, and especially maybe unprepared guys then falter in a big situation because of what you were trying to get too cute with?
I think you hit it right there. It's like the bigger the game, the less you should do. Do what you do really, really well. I think the standard that the Seahawks have shown all year is, man, they just know who they are. They stick to it. They have great defense. Man, they can run the ball. And so I would anticipate, them sticking to what got them there, sticking to who they are. I think they're so good at so many positions, they don't have to try to do something cute. I think if you're a lesser team and you're trying to upset somebody, maybe you have to trick them or try other things. But that's just a general philosophy I've had. I have to tell my young coaches this all the time: the bigger the game, the less you do. So it'll be fun to see, though, how that plays out this coming Sunday.
We can't talk Seattle and not bring up defense. Your defenses have led the nation in sacks, tackle for losses, turnovers. What do great defenses have in common? What separates them? And then when you watch that Seahawks defense, what do you notice most on that defense?
Well, it's pretty simple. Great defenses have playmakers, right? They have guys that can go take that ball. They can beat somebody one-on-one and get to the quarterback. Um, and then I think they do have very, very sound defenses, right? They know who they are and what they're doing, and they just do it really, really well. And then when it comes to the Seahawks, I mean, they got speed, right? They got speed at a lot of different positions. But they also got a couple guys in the middle that are pretty physical. Right down that middle, it's hard to run right at them. I think they make a commitment to being really good against the run. I think that's where it starts, and they've shown the ability to do that. But then they're also flexible enough to bring on some DBs and bring on some athletes. You have to match personnel in this game today, especially in the NFL. So I think those are some of the strengths that they have.
It's hard to tell scheme on TV without like an all 22 film, but just in general, if a team can stop the run the ball, and pressure the quarterback, in general, is that going to make a team successful?
That
No
is a
matter
winning
who they play.
That's a winning combination right there. And how many can do all three of those? Probably the teams that are at the top of their division and conference and in the nation.
And I have a question. We're going talking about pressure and big moments.
Mhm.
My question for you is, obviously teams win when they can succeed under pressure, when players, coaches. So how do you set yourself up for success to think under pressure? And then how do you set your team set up for success to think under pressure and perform to their best abilities?
Well, that's the thing. You want to put yourself in those situations before it's game day. So, like for us, we'll have our coordinators have days in practice where it's not scripted, right? We can't just rely on this. You got to think, you got to go through that. I think the more you can unscript practice, the better. And coaches can get uncomfortable with it, and it might not get what the defense wants. But I think you have to do that for coaches. And then we'll have on Friday a session where we'll sit down and talk scenarios. Hey, it's this situation. It's a 46 seconds on the clock, one timeout. We have the ball. We're down two. So we want to talk through that ahead of time as coaches. You never like. I'm not going to hit that Saturday what we talked about on Friday, but maybe 3 Fridays ago we did talk about that, and it comes up. The game, so many unique things that can happen, but you're at least making your mind think through those situations. And then as far as the players, it's the exact same way. How can we put them in pressure situations before game day? And we had a 6 a.m. workout yesterday morning, right? And we're trying to put those guys when they're tired, having to focus and think and touch with the right hand and not jump off sides. And man, the more we can do that in an entire off season, the better. And then, look for teachable moments. Okay, we've got this injury. We've got this loss. We've got this. Well, how do we respond to that? Right. I think sometimes we miss, these are even NFL kids. They're young men trying to figure out life, and we miss some of those teachable moments. So we want to take advantage of those and talk through them and what can we learn. I think those are a couple strategies.
So I don't know if you've been able to see some things like this, but there was a clip of Leonard Williams talking to Gray Zabel on the sideline, one of the recent Seahawks games, and Leonard Williams was talking about his rushing, and Zabel gave him a hint of what to do. Zabel's a rookie telling a guy who's been in the league for 10 years how to get there. In the next set of downs, Leonard Williams ended up with a sack, and on the sideline, he said, "I got to credit Gray Zabel on that." Is that something that a culture can instill, or is that something that a culture can bring in the right people that they feel comfortable, where a rookie can tell a 10-year vet, "Hey, try something like this." In your case, it'd be a senior and a freshman, but same kind of point.
I think it's both. I think it's creating a culture, man. We're just about growth. We're just about being the best we can be. It's not about my idea or this guy getting to make a play. What can we accomplish collectively? How can we help each other every day in practice? Like we don't compete against each other. It's easy to fall in that trap. We compete for each other every day. Man, you're making that corner better receiver by stressing him, make it harder in practice than it will be in the game. So I think there's that culture you want to create, this mindset of learning and growth and not defensive and not that we know it all. But then I think maybe the bigger thing is that player having the humility to learn from somebody else, right? He doesn't care if it's a freshman. He doesn't care if it's a rookie. It's like, I want to get better. If you got something, I want to listen. So I think some people are wired differently and just they know it all. They get defensive. I think the Seahawks seem to have a culture where, man, they're just all about the family. I've heard it over and over, and supporting each other, believing in each other. And that illustration that you just gave proves, we can say that, but that proves that really is the culture that exists there.
Coach, I'm curious. You've coached All-Americans, future NFL players. What separates the guys who maximize their talent from the guys who maybe, have some holes in their game? And when you're scouting players, is that something you can notice right away? Like, this guy has it, and if he puts it all together, it could be special?
Yeah. So the first thing is a passion for football, right? So right after the Broncos drafted Bo Nix, I was able to be with Sean Payton, watch some OTAs, watch some practice. We were in Sean's office. This is fascinating to me. He goes, "We wanted Bo Nix over any other quarterback," right? They didn't have the first pick. And he said, "Here's why. Bo Nix, more than any other guy we saw in the draft, loves football, wants to learn, wants to grow." So I think that's what separates those guys. I mean, at that level and at the highest level, everybody's got talent. But do they just have this love and passion for football? When you have that, it doesn't matter if you're tired, doesn't matter if you're dinged, doesn't matter if you're second string, you're just going to find a way. So I think that's the first thing. And then the second part, was what? Refresh my memory on that second part of that question.
When you're scouting players, can you tell if a guy
Yeah.
has it right away, or how does that passion come across? Is it just working hard at practice? Is it talking to the player? How does that come across, and how do you know that you've got a player?
Yeah, exactly. That's tough. We just had a staff meeting about that. We were on a Zoom with some other coaches across the country talking about leadership and developing leaders. And man, it'd be awesome if we can recruit great leaders, right? And then we wouldn't have this leadership issue on our team. Well, how do you determine that? How do you determine the it? I think there's a couple things. First of all, I think it's pretty rare. Right? There's a lot of guys drafted high in the NFL that didn't have it. And then there's the Tom Brady's that nobody knew he had it, but had it at a level nobody else knew, right? Nobody ever else has. So I think it's a little bit harder to determine than we think. But you want to ask in our case, the high school coach, and the NFL, you ask the college coach, man, you're around that guy every day. Does he inspire those people around him? Does he flinch when the bullets are flying? I think those are the two big things, right? When it's toughest, is he leading? And then do people follow? Do people listen to him? I think that's probably the best way to try to determine it.
And I've got a follow-up with that, and looking at the FBS level of Division I college football right now, I know I'm gonna sound like an old man screaming at the weather, but it's just turned me off so much of, the fact that everybody wants to go to the next greatest thing, down the road, and no loyalty, and so for so many things. But all those things that you were just talking about, as far as character, and like when we were recruiting the best 16 to 20-year-olds in the country, the team that we owned, we watched how they treated their mom and dads.
Right.
So that was a big part of our recruiting, was watching that. How at that level, when you're having to re-recruit your whole team plus recruit everybody in the country plus high school kids, how in the world can you tell at all if you're getting a character kid at all these days? I just don't see how you could.
It's hard. It's really hard. But I think this is the magical thing from Indiana Hoosier football that we're all going to study is how did they get those, because they all came in there, right? And get them to buy in, to put aside ego and really have that moxie. Well, I think they got guys that were hungry, right? That maybe were overlooked and Ohio State didn't want, but they're really, really good, obviously really good players. So maybe part of that is getting a guy that's hungry, getting a guy that doesn't have an ego. I think that's really hard to tell. Getting a guy that wants a chance to just prove himself. But yeah, that's the million. If we could figure that out, the three of us, we'd be billionaires, right? We'd sell it to businesses and teams and all over the world.
Yeah, it's not easy. Just thinking back to the hockey career, right? You want to play with those guys that block shots, take the hit to get the puck out. Similar, you're going to ask your wide receivers to block, even though that's probably not what they'd want to do. I'm curious, have you had to change your leadership style with this new generation of athletes a little bit? Or is the standard, the philosophy always work throughout your career?
Well, I don't think you change the standard. I think you do have to think about leadership. I don't know that it changes, but it emphasizes different. Um, I mean, every single young man, I believe, deep down, they want to be challenged. They want to be pushed. They want to, learn what it takes to be great. So I think what's changed a little bit is that the young men want to know that you care about them enough to help them. Like, can you help me get to the pros? If I were to get a $500,000 offer, kids in Division III have to go somewhere, would you let me do that? Like, yeah, that's an incredible opportunity, man. Um, I don't think it's going to happen very often, but if it does, the kid needs to know that you're going to help him get a job, right? You want to go to his wedding. You would help him get to the next level if that opportunity were to come. I think just believing in him and wanting to help him, I think you need to really clearly articulate that now because I think the world's different.
When you get those kids on your team, what percent are there to look to move on at the college level? What percent are there to play for their school and are happy from the day they get there just to be a college athlete, would
Yeah.
you say these days?
Yeah, so I've chosen to be a Division III coach very intentionally, right? I've had opportunities to coach elsewhere, but I love this model. It's what I played. It's what I believe in. Uh, um, that a degree matters, that preparation for life matters. There's pride in your institution. So because I'm at this level, it's going to be less. They're going to choose Whitworth because it's a really good academic school. It's a great culture school. They want to play in this program, right? They don't necessarily think they're going to play on Sundays, right? And so if that kid does blossom and comes out of nowhere, then obviously we'll help him, but I just don't think that's necessarily the purpose. Now, this could change over the next 5 years, but I think currently that's not the way it is here, and that's why I love this place.
Coach, I'm fired up after this interview. I feel like I've just been transported back to my college hockey days, ready to go out there and run through a brick wall. I know you're busy, so can you give me one reason why the Seahawks can win this Sunday and then a score prediction?
Yeah, no, I love it. They're going to win clearly, because they're the better team and they're the more disciplined team, and they're the more complete team. I think they just do not have a lot of weaknesses right now, and I think that's why they're going to win. Score prediction, I'll go 24-17 Seahawks.
We'll
That'd be
take that,
awesome.
Coach. And just give us a couple of things you're real excited about your team for this coming season in 2026 on the last note of the interview here.
Yeah. So I'm blessed to be here. We got a lot of young men. They want to be coached. They want to be challenged. They want to be part of something special. They're working really, really hard. Last year was a rebuilding year and we were able to figure it out and win a championship. This year, we have a lot of experience coming back. A lot of, I think these guys say, hey, we want something a little bit bigger and willing to work for it. So it's exciting to see if we can help them take that next step and accomplish something really special this year.
Sorry,
Awesome,
Coach. I have
awesome.
one last question
Oh,
before
you lied.
it came to me. So we always know that losing is contagious, right? It's a disease. But on the flip side, success can also have some sort of that aspect as well, where people maybe don't think they have to work as hard or buy in as much. Have you had to navigate almost dealing with success and reeling your team back in? And then last question, and then I'll let you go. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, success, breeds softness. Adversity breeds toughness. It's a law of nature, right? So we intentionally have to fight that. Last year, maybe not quite as much because we had these new guys that, okay, that's the standard, but I've never done it, right? This year, I think much like 2 and 3 years ago, we do need to fight that complacency. And so we start every year, whether we win or get second, right? That you start at ground zero, right? Nothing that the previous season or previous team earned is relevant to this year. We have to start at the bottom. We have to climb our way back to the top. And I think when you kind of communicate that and tell your guys that, hey, you don't deserve anything. Earn everything. You don't deserve anything. That can be a refreshing mindset to try to create to them.
I love it. Thanks so much, Coach. Enjoy the rest of your day and go Hawks.
Thank you so much. So fun to be on with you guys, and go Hawks.
Wow, what an absolute unbelievable interview. I told Coach, but I'm fired up. I think I would run through a brick wall for that guy if he was in the hockey locker room or the football locker room. Wow, what an amazing guest. Thank you so much for taking the time. That was special.
That was great, and you can hear greatness out of the coaches that have it, and you can tell that if you came in here and you didn't know about Whitworth's history or his history, you could just listen to him and say that guy can coach. Um, and that was fantastic. Yeah, I'm fired up. I'm fired up for the Super Bowl, and that got me go. By the way, guess what? Ben Roethlisberger still hasn't scored.
Bringing up, I don't know if we want to bring up old Super Bowl wounds, but yeah,
He still hasn't gotten across the goal line.
we were talking about, how do you know if someone has it? Well, Coach Rod definitely has it. He has the X factor. Wow, that was like I said, I would love playing for him because he was very inspiring on the podcast. I couldn't imagine being the X's and O's and in the locker room with them.
Yeah, I've gone to some of their games, and really, when you watch their games, the only difference that you see between guys that are playing on national TVs on Saturday and some of their guys, a lot of it is just their size. They're very skilled players at that level. Now, football has a lot of levels compared to the hockey that you played in and whatnot, but there are more football players to choose from. So I've enjoyed going to their games, and especially watching some of their hands that they've got. There was I don't remember what year it was, but I was watching, I think it was a tight end that was playing, that was catching everything, and his hands were as good as people playing on Sundays. It just that he didn't have the size of the normal, like an Eric Saubert or a Jimmy Graham, or blocking tight end, or a Will Dissly, any of those guys. So that's the only difference. And I love that level of football because you've got guys that are playing because, like he said, love to play football.
The one thing that makes me laugh when I think about this Seahawks Super Bowl run versus the last Super Bowl run is just how different these two teams are. That first Super Bowl, team all about characters, and Pete just let them be themselves as long as they weren't a distraction. And then this year it's all about the team. No one's taking any credit. You ask Sam Darnold or JSN, it's great pass or great catch. Defense is all playing as 12 as one. So I think I think there's a better chance the Seahawks team can stay together, because I think success and failure, the last two Super Bowls really put a wedge in that team. So I'm hoping that long term this is a team that can stick together because of how tight knit they are.
Yeah, the we kind of talked about it from the coaching perspective, with him, where you kind of get your tree picked from when you're successful. But sometimes it can also inflate a player's ego at the NFL to get the attention that they're getting and what they think they're worth financially, and that can disrupt and derail a team. So hopefully that stays away. The Seahawks have very few unrestricted free agents coming up, and that's a good thing, because the guys that they want to have back, I know they're really good at setting a price. This is what it's worth. Hey, go test the market, but come back to us, or signing them early, like they have done with Bobby Wagner, for an example, or other guys before they hit free agency. So winning breeds a lot of things, but sometimes it can work, like you said, a little bit against a team from a number of aspects. And one of those is sometimes that players sometimes think they're worth a little bit more than maybe what they would have been if the team wasn't as successful.
Yeah, now I think we just have to give Sam Darnold his flowers. I mean, that was going toe to toe with Matt Stafford. I feel bad for the guy. He loses one playoff game in his career, and the entire narrative the whole year is Sam can't win the big game. Sam can't win the big one. But wow, so at 350, 3 touchdowns, no mistakes. That last drive, shout out to Kubiak, Sam, and all the wide receivers, the whole offense. I was just laughing when KB and Brady were said, "Oh, I would just run it here with 3 minutes left," and like I think everyone besides those two said, if you give the ball back to Matt Stafford, the Seahawks are going to lose this game. And credit Macdonald, Kubiak, they were aggressive. Sam made all the right reads, made all the right plays. What an exclamation mark for Sam Darnold in that game.
Sam was unbelievable, and he's been unbelievable. And I think some of the turnover talk that we have of not we, but that is out there about him is overblown a little bit. But and I love what you were saying there too. I love this team because they play to win. They don't
Mhm.
play to not lose. They play to win. And that last drive was just a thing of beauty, and give the ball back to him, with what, 24 seconds left or whatever it was, there. But Sam Darnold was incredible. He's been incredible this year. And it's okay to, if you were a Sam Darnold doubter, he had only done it, at that level for 1 year, right? With Minnesota. He didn't do it with the Jets. He didn't do it with Carolina. Didn't get a chance in San Francisco. So it's okay to be a doubter. But if you're a doubter, you come around. What I'm livid about is that there are still people out there that jumped on that Sam Darnold can't do it, can't do it. He's never won a big game, which is ludicrous the last 2 years, how many big games he's won. And it's like, even after all the success and all the compliments that he's getting now, there's still those people out there that are waiting for him to have a bad game so they can
Mhm.
say, see, I
Told
told you
you.
he was no good. And how you got a guy who has won 31 games now, I think it is, in the last 2 years. So that those guys are the ones that are making me mad. The ones that are out there still say, "Well, I don't know, he's got to win another big one," and just waiting for somebody to have a bad game to say, "Oh, I told you so." Where that, I think that talk should have been put to bed by everyone, and I'm actually getting really tired of hearing it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, those ESPN talking heads are driving me crazy. Sometimes I'll have it on the background, and going into the NFC Championship game, they were talking that the best bet of the game is to pick Sam Darnold for 2 interceptions. And he just did the exact opposite, proved everyone wrong. And of course, all the questions are, you've been doubted, you can't win the big one. How does it feel? And um, I mean, I just laugh because he's lost one playoff game in his career. And like maybe the narrative should be that for someone like Josh Allen, who literally can't win the big one to get over the hump. But it's, easier to pick on Sam Darnold. And, at the end of the day, they're just trying to get clicks and views. So, but it is frustrating.
It is frustrating. He's been outstanding. The run game has been outstanding, and I think Kubiak has really hit his stride in the last quarter of the season for sure. They were even on fire at the beginning of the year, but then teams made adjustments and whatnot. And I think that what I love about this team is this is what we used to say about our hockey teams that we built, that if you wanted to get in a track meet with us, we'd outscore you. If you wanted to get in a slow down, grab, hold, defensive struggle, we'd beat you 3-0. If you wanted to try to beat us in the alley, we would whoop you in the alley. I love the fact that this team can beat you offensively with the run game, with the pass game. They can beat you with special teams. How is Shaheed just a miracle player for us? What a great find that was. And then defensively, they stop the run, which then makes them able to stop the pass and put pressure on the quarterback. And that's what I love about this team. And if they can, so in the regular season, Geno Smith led the NFL in pressures turning into sacks. And I think it was like 26, 27%, something in there. Don't quote me on the exact number of pressures turning into sacks. Drake May was down in the lower 20s during the season, but in the playoffs, he's been over 40% of pressures turning into sacks. So if the Seahawks can pressure him and turn some of those into sacks, they're going to win this game.
Yeah. Now, feel free to throw a flag on this because I have recency bias and I do get pretty excited. But is what we watched Sam Darnold do this year, is that the best quarterback play we've seen since Matt Hasselbeck
In Seattle?
in Seattle?
Russell did have some really good years. And I don't want to, like you said, throw any negative about Russell with some good years, but I can tell you that Sam's play was outstanding. And then especially when the run game came along. So, we got to remember Russell was pretty good for us. And we have to give Pete his compliments of utilizing Russell in the right way and getting Marshawn Lynch and such. So that I think let me just put it this way. I have a lot of confidence with Sam Darnold back there.
I think it's just so different after watching Russell Wilson and Geno Smith when Sam Darnold is 3 steps back, balls out in under half a second. So maybe I think I could change it best pocket passer since Matt Hasselbeck.
No question.
Okay.
No question. 100%.
How do you factor in Russ's scramble abilities with the moon balls? That's a tough comparison. But as far as just pocket presence, pocket awareness, and getting the ball out on time, it's been special to watch.
Yeah, it's been outstanding. I love the fact that he stood in there in the NFC Championship game, knowing he was going to get hit a couple of times, and threw those touchdowns and the long pass to JSN. So, Sam has been outstanding, and then K9 really coming on after the midpoint of the season to where the running game really now complements the passing game. And with that running game, I have full confidence in with Darnold back there. In fact, I was actually sitting there during the NFC Championship game saying, it's this must be what Patriots fans felt like with Tom Brady back there. I just had full confidence that every time that he stepped back, that he was going to make the right decision.
Yeah. Now we're going off the deep end, comparing him to Tom Brady. And
no, I'm just saying how Patriot fans felt with Tom Brady back there. That's how I felt in the NFC Championship game.
Yeah, especially that game. I never felt too nervous about that game, probably because the Seahawks always had the lead, and until the Woolen penalty, then it was this could go either way at that point because they would have had 10 or 11 point lead with the ball with 7 minutes left, and you're thinking, okay, there's one drive that puts it away. But then, one play later, it's now a 3-point game, changes the dynamic quite a bit.
Yeah, it definitely felt like the game was going to be over after we broke up that third down play, and that's one thing that I wanted to ask Coach that I didn't get to. Eh, I- Knowing that Reek Woolen led the league in unsportsmanlike penalties, and I use this term, let me preface how I use this term. If you remember when Julio Rodriguez and Ty France went to the MLB All-Star game as representatives of the Mariners, uh, Ty France was talking about how he was going to babysit Julio there just because Julio was so young and such. So I don't mean babysit in a negative way when I say this, but if you're McDonald or AD, the defense coordinator for the Hawks, do you assign two players to babysit Reek Woolen? Basically, that they're spying on him after plays to grab him and move him in case he starts to taunt or stand over players. Because it's not something that is new. It's not something that he's learned his lesson from, probably, because we've seen this continuing. It's been all year where every time that he's made a play and he's over somebody, I get nervous that we're going to get a flag for 15.
Yeah, that would have been a great question to ask Coach. What would he have done there? That the easy answer is you bench him because it was such an egregious error at such a big game. Obviously he's one of your best corners and one of your best athletic defensive players. So how do you balance that? Obviously, Mike rode with him and it worked out well because after that one play, he played pretty well. So I think that been a very delicate situation. I'm curious how coaches around the world would have handled it.
But in this game coming up, what do you do if you're the coach? Do you assign somebody that is uh, basically there to oversee to make sure he doesn't do something?
Yeah, I think the way that Eman Wari got in his face, I don't think coach needs. I'm sure Ernest Jones, Love, and Nick will be watching, and I don't think you can make the same mistake twice.
But he made it 3 times this year.
Yeah, I just don't think in that big a moment you could make it twice. Hopefully, it's just a learning lesson.
Yeah, and let's other than that drive, then he has played very well down this last half of the year. I mean, it looked like for a while they said the rumors were they were trying to trade him at the deadline in October, and since that time he's basically reemerged and reinvented. He's so long, his arms are just so long. He can just break up pass after pass. So if he can let his play do the talking, that would be awesome.
Yeah, I was already crafting up the narrative that he blew the first game of the season and he blew the last game of the season, just mentally not sharp for 2, 3 plays, and that could have been the difference between the Seahawks season. And speaking of just like a couple plays, uh, obviously I don't feel bad for the Rams, but looking back, their season was pretty much defined by 3 plays, right? The field goal block in Philly, then the 2-point conversion, and then not getting it on fourth down. So it's kind of shows you how the season comes down to 2 or 3 moments, and it's not lucky, right? Because the Seahawks have put themselves in there, but a lot of things just have to go right. And if you mess up on 1 or 2 plays, that could be your chance at going to the Super Bowl. So just kind of it made me appreciate the ride. Like the Rams played almost a nearly perfect season except for those 3 plays. And one of them was a great play by D-Law that we're hearing. It wasn't a fortuitous bust by the Seahawks. It was the 11-year vet recognizing something didn't look right and covering the hot receivers. So yeah, it's just interesting when you think about it like that.
Well, that's one play that I wanted to get to there for our viewers that don't know what we're talking about. On the fourth down play, where the Rams could have even gotten the first down or the touchdown late in the game, there in the NFC Championship. It's fourth, and I think it was 4, right? 4th and 4, and they had Sean McVay drew up a play where it looked like the running back was going to sneak out to the left and get behind Julian Love, the safety that was blitzing, and Love would have supposedly on paper stopped his blitz and covered the receiver, but Love came in too hot. DeMarcus Lawrence, being that 12-year vet who is paid to rush the quarterback and stop the run, notices somehow out of the corner of his eye that Love has come in too hot, leaves his pass rushing responsibilities and covers the running back, which was the number one receiver on the play. And that's why Sean McVay has said that the Seahawks busted the coverage. But it has come out that Lawrence made that play on purpose because Love had come in too hot. And that's why Stafford had to go toward the back of the end zone where Spoon was able to break up the pass. But it was an incredible play. And even Mike Macdonald was looking out there and screamed, "Where's the end?" because he expected Lawrence to have a free rush at the quarterback. But instead, he turned around and covered the receiver, taking away the number one option on that route.
Yeah, what an amazing play. And if you watch that play, definitely had a step or two on Julian. I mean, that's an easy touchdown for Stafford and Kyron. So, well, what an amazing play. Yeah, that was laughing when Mike Macdonald was like, "Where's the end?" And just had no idea what was happening. Even in the press conference, he said it didn't even execute that play the way we wanted to. But that's just the
Thank
veteran,
goodness.
yeah, making a special play. And um, yeah, even I was going to ask you though, one of the last plays of that offensive drive where the Seahawks killed that clock. On that last play, were they going to throw the ball again? Because it was
Oh,
some sort of
when
bus protection where they let the tackle run in there. But I was, well, thank goodness Sam held on to the ball, and I think they were going to throw it again to ice that game.
it sure looked like it because I've gone back and watched that a couple of times because the defender came in so quickly that Sam had to hold on to the ball, luckily, like you said. And I don't think he was going to hand it to K9, but maybe he just saw out of the corner of his eye
Yeah.
that he was coming in. If he put the ball out there, it was going to possibly be knocked away. But I don't know. And I've kind of gone both ways. I've watched those two plays a lot in slow motion, the Lawrence play for Seattle, and then trying to figure out if they were going to throw a pass in that situation because Sam definitely dropped back there. Was he going to hand it off? I don't know.
Yeah, and maybe it's Sam on the keeper just to not have a handoff there go wrong, because it does look like the tight end's gonna pull too. Was he pulling to block, or was he pulling to go out for a route? I mean, the play was blown up in half a second, so it's tough to tell but it sure looked like it was not a hand it off and kill the clock. It looked like it was the dagger, and they almost need it because Puka almost catches that. And if it came down to a Hail Mary, I would have been in shambles.
Yeah, I mean, just too many things can go wrong on a Hail Mary. You could end up with a pass interference, a tip ball, or whatever it would be. So yeah, when they showed that his shin had come down inbounds, that was the greatest feeling that I had had in a long time.
Yeah, that would have been tough to get everyone off the field, reset, and then coming off that emotional high when you think you've won, can you reset into the right coverage? And yeah, what was that? The Chicago game this year
Oh yeah.
against Washington. So yeah, crazy things could happen. So just never
I
know. And
loved at the conclusion of that play with Ernest Jones telling DeMarcus Lawrence, I told you we were about to go to the Super Bowl. I told you." And he said the same thing to Cooper Cup later on, that I told you this team was ready. Um, I just love that guy. I love so many of these players. They're
Mhm.
just so easy to love. And I know I'm borrowing a Mariners phrase of "you got to love these guys," but this team can fall into that category. Outside the Pacific Northwest, outside of Seattle Seahawks fans, there were not a lot of people that loved the Legion of Boom. They respected them, but didn't really
Mhm.
love them because of the ego and the trash talking and such. This team is a lot different. I think nationally, a lot of people can love this team just because of what you had said when we were talking earlier to Coach about deflecting praise and giving the other guys credit and on and on and on.
Yeah, one guy that I look at and is always just impressed with is JSN. Wide receivers can be divas, can be hotheads, want the ball, and everything you hear out from him is, "I'm here to make my team win. I can catch four, I can catch 40 balls. It doesn't really matter. And super humble guy. Seen a few interviews with his mom. Like it's definitely the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. You know, she's very humble, very gracious. And I think when you have your wide receiver one who led the league in yards being that humble and that much of a team guy, it's tough to be in any position where you're going to come in and, you know, say like, I'm the guy when your one wide receiver that could be a diva is one of the best teammates on the team.
Yeah, and think about how that filters down in the rest of the room with a guy like that when you've got Jake Bobo, who is on this team because he can block, quite frankly, and his pass production catching is way down individually. What do you have? Only 3 catches, I think, this year or so.
Mhm.
But he is a guy that's very valuable to this team, and Kubiak using him in spots of blocking, and then the big touchdown pass in the NFC Championship. I think when you've got a guy that's so humble and we just want to win, like JSN, the rest of the team and especially that room, the wide receivers, they can feel that. I'm sure Bobo wants to catch more balls. No question about it. I'm sure he's frustrated, that he doesn't get thrown to very often, but you don't hear a peep out of him. You just see him work his tail off on blocking and then make a big touchdown catch in the NFC. And just how happy the whole team was for him
Mhm.
after that catch. They were celebrating, but it was different than celebrating just a touchdown catch in the game. They were happy for him, which is just fantastic to see at that level.
Yeah, and I even remember, I think it was against the Texans that JSN got pushed in the Texans bench, and I think it was Cooper Kupp and Bobo were right there, you know, going through 30 Texans to make sure JSN's okay. And I think that also stemmed from Cooper Kupp, right? He could also be a very cocky guy. He's had a lot of success in the league, Super Bowl MVP, and you know, he's just down to earth and probably a guy that you could also say probably would want more catches, but is just instilled and put his valuable and his time into teaching JSN, and it's been awesome.
And the coaches make it very clear that Cooper Kupp has meant a lot to this team.
Mhm.
The way he carries himself, does his business, and the way he instructs and teaches other guys, that they are very grateful to have a guy like Cooper Kupp on this team, as are we, obviously. That play that he made in the NFC Championship game of knowing I need to come up with another 6 inches and holding the ball over his head to get the first down in that situation, that was awesome. That was absolutely incredible, and he's just so smart on the field. He reminds me a lot of Steve Largent in that
Mm.
respect. Just a smart, smart player.
Yeah, I'll just say, enjoy this Super Bowl run, you know, for all Seattle fans. It's funny, we had a Cousins FaceTime call on Sunday, and we had a few Vikings and um, Dallas fans marry into the family, and they're like, I don't know what it's like to go to the Super Bowl. So take it as an appreciation that we're here and we get to watch this unfold. And yeah, I think it's nice that you're not going up against Josh Allen or Pat Mahomes or Brady, and Mays have a great year. And you know, hopefully some of the young rookie, I know he's in the second year, but maybe some mental mistakes that the Seahawks can capitalize where you maybe not be able to expect that from Stafford or Brady or Mahomes.
The one thing that would keep me up at night if I were on the coaching staff or just even as a fan that concerns me is Josh McDaniels. Josh McDaniels is so he began coaching in 2001, became an offense coordinator in 2006, and has been with the Patriots as an offensive coordinator these last 20 years, except for 2 stints as a head coach in Denver and Las Vegas, and then also 1 year in St. Louis with the Rams as the offensive coordinator. Outside of that, right, he's been with the Patriots. Okay, so he started coaching 2001, became offensive coordinator in 2006. This is Super Bowl 60. He's only 49 years old, I think it is, right? This is his 10th Super Bowl.
Wow, that is crazy.
10. That's unbelievable. So
Yeah.
he's seen a lot. He's very good
Mhm.
being an offensive coordinator, and he's going to have some tricks up his sleeve, maybe not trick plays, but he's not gonna have everything that we've seen on tape before. If you're the Seahawks, he's going to put some new things out there, and that that one does make me concerned about his expertise and his history. 10 Super Bowls.
Yeah.
Started
And
coaching in 2001.
he's not going to be phased by the big moment and the pressure. Just another
No.
Sunday for him. So, all right, well, we'll see. It's an exciting time. Enjoy the ride. Consume as much media as you can, and watching all the player interviews. It's exciting, and let's just hope Sam Darnold and the Seahawks stay the heck away from that San Francisco substation. We need that oblique firing. Can't take any of the magnetic injuries. So I don't know where their hotel is, but hopefully it's cleared from that
Yeah,
substation.
exactly. Exactly.
All right. We'll see you next time. Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.